You are on mute, Matt, just FYI.
That's a wonderful start to a
Wonderful
very
start.
slick presentation. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining this Business Link webinar with 910 Marketing. He'll be delivering the wonderful content today, but we'll go and I'll kind of introduce Megan and Ryan in a moment there. But first of all, I would like to welcome everyone from all corners of the province and probably further away as well. We've got lots and lots of people interested in this topic, we absolutely know. So I'm sure we'll have lots of attendees and lots of great questions. I'll walk through some of the housekeeping there in a moment, but first of all, I would like to start by acknowledging and respecting that we're on traditional land, meeting grounds, territories, gathering places, and travelling routes of Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10, and the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the lands of those who have come before us, reside here now, and in the future. So welcome, welcome all those people joining us today, like I say, from throughout the province. But Megan and Ryan from 910 Marketing, Ryan's up in Grand Prairie, and Megan, just before Kate coming on the call, she told me she's in a log cabin just east of Edmonton. So, and I'm down in Calgary here, so we got it covered. Excellent, so wonderful. Thanks for joining us today. We're looking at ChatGPT, your new AI-powered intern, and how to use it wisely. We know it's a hot topic, and with that, I'll hand straight over to Ryan and Megan.
Thank you, Matt. And I know we have Julian in the background managing all of the technology and technology sort of leading agencies. We're all working remotely through the power of the internet, and this is wonderful, which is a good segue into today's session. We're going to be talking about ChatGPT specifically, but more generically, or more generally, I guess, these new AI tools that everyone's been hearing about and really learning how you can put them to work for you in assistance of your branded digital marketing. And this session today is really the culmination of a series of sessions that we've been doing. And so I'll talk a little bit first about our company, 910. We're based in Grand Prairie, but we serve all of Alberta and into BC. And we have a lean and mean team. And today joining, I'll hand over the reins in a moment. We have Megan, who leads our training academy. And so 910, we have a mission, really, and our mission is to ensure that small, medium businesses across the province are in a position to learn the skills, build the foundation to increasingly manage more of their own digital branded marketing with their in-house resources. And so if you just follow that through, our vision is that if you're a small, medium business in Alberta, you have the tools, the resources, the supports to be successful in creating, managing your brand, and sort of taking control of all of these digital platforms like Facebook and TikTok and email marketing and website and SEO. And today's session on ChatGPT is really a culmination of that, because through our training academy, we provide the education for our clients to be able to manage all of this. And ChatGPT is a tool that we teach at the end to make the management of that significantly more efficient. But it's a tool that you need to learn with some proper guidance, and there's a whole foundation that you need to have in place to be able to do that. It's like if I were to go into my grandpa's wood shop and he has every tool under the sun and everything's set up perfectly, it doesn't mean I know how to use the tools. So ChatGPT is just a tool. So when you look at all of the services that our agency offer, you can see at the top left, we have branding. And today we're going to touch on brand strategy as a foundational item. It's the thing you need to do at the beginning because it's going to be the roadmap, the guide for everything that comes after. And you'll see today in ChatGPT that we reference back to this brand strategy because it's what's required to properly guide, spoiler alert, these GPT agents, or what we call digital virtual assistants. So along the way, we also offer design and print services for our clients. We do a lot of websites, e-commerce, SEO. And the goal is if you work with us or an agency like us to build the proper foundation and you have everything in place, the training is really the ability for small, medium businesses to better manage their website, their social media, their email marketing, and the know-how to follow best practices, and then the tool to make that efficient. Because you're likely, if you're a small, medium business, you're the owner or the manager doing it on your own, or you have one employee wearing a lot of hats. So to make that person much more efficient, tools like ChatGPT go a long way. So with that, I'd like to introduce Megan Jobson from our team. Working out of Edmonton, but with our full-time team, again, the power of working remotely. And Megan leads our training academy, and she is a certified digital marketing professional. a credential that she gained by going through our training academy. This is a globally recognized certification recognized by the North American Marketing Association, and you could be too in 6 months become a certified digital marketing professional. So with that, over to you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for that glowing introduction. And yes, I'm really excited to sit down and chat a little bit more about the technical elements of ChatGPT and AI and how we can use it effectively and ethically and actually help it, use it to help us with our processes. So I'm really curious to know, I see there's about 80 people here today. If you can just drop in the chat what your impression of AI is right now and how you can use it in your marketing, because there's a lot of different ideas out there about how we can build this into our workflows and how we can make it make our lives easier. AI is ripe with potential. Yes, absolutely it is. There's so many tools that are expanding and building, and I'm going to get Ryan to talk about one in a little bit that he discovered, and it kind of turns things into podcast interviews, which was completely wild to me when I first saw that, it was so crazy. It is so helpful to build a lot of that strategy and that brainstorming. I see somebody saying they're creating scripts with it. Life-changing for somebody who language isn't your strong suit, absolutely. 100% time saver. It stimulates your brain, and that's exactly kind of what we're trying to do with this, right?
Actually, good point. I use it for brainstorming. When I have a creative block, I talk through it with ChatGPT sometimes. Anyways, a little side note with that.
And we'll talk a lot about kind of how to use it as a brainstorming tool and not just take it at face value. Because when we look at the fundamentals of AI, there's kind of three big components to this, right? It is a database that looks at all of the information on the internet that it has access to, right? So it has its fingers everywhere for this public information. And what it does is it looks for patterns within all of that data, right? So the information that it's providing isn't necessarily fact-checked by this source or that, but it's looking at patterns that it sees in the data that it has. Now, this technology isn't new, right? But it's based in a natural language model where we as human beings can interact with it really effectively without having the need for all of that background in coding science and understanding the technical language. We have a way to communicate in our natural tongue with it, which is really, really exciting. So with all of this, the big consideration is that it is not going to give you a 100% perfect result every single time. We have to look at AI like it's an intern. How many of you, just drop in the chat there, how many of you have ever worked with an intern? And what is one of the kind of, I guess, challenges that you have while you're working with an intern? What are some of the things that you need to work around? Matt says he uses 3, inputting the same info, constant mentorship. That's a really great note there, Gerald. It has to do with kind of a little bit of that hand-holding, right? Because an intern is like is a baby in their career. They don't have that wealth of experience to draw from, right? Human beings, we have years and years and years of knowledge and experience that's been built from every single piece of interactions that we've had, right? And so when it comes to working with an intern, they don't know the company culture. They don't know the company processes. They don't have the experience to know that when you build a logo this way, it may not work as well as if you build it this way, right? They just have come fresh out of school. And so when we're looking at ChatGPT, AI, like an intern, we have to recognize that they don't know you. They don't know the context. They don't have the background, the understanding to know all of those nuances and that finesse that you as a human do, right? So we have to give it the most clear directions. You might feel like you are going ad nauseum or giving too much information, but ChatGPT is not going to roll its eyes at you like a teenager might. But they're also never going to get tired, right? It's a technology. So it is inexpensive. It has access to all of the knowledge in the world, right? But it's going to make mistakes. So we have to make sure that we QC it. We look and review everything that goes through. One of my kind of cautionary tales when I'm teaching this topic is when ChatGPT kind of first came on the scene and people were starting to use it a lot more. There was a lawyer in the US who used ChatGPT to write his closing arguments and didn't fact check before he presented these in court. And he actually ended up with quite serious, I think he got disbarred because the case law that he was citing in his closing arguments wasn't real. And it's because ChatGPT wrote this really great thing, but it's based on pattern. It's not necessarily drawing from fact. So that's why you have to make sure that you're QCing it so that it is representative of who you are, not only in your brand voice and communicating all of that personality, but also that the information is accurate. So.
It's so true, Megan. I was putting together a proposal and I used it for, to kind of help me as Ryan was saying there before. And I was asking it to pull some statistics on small businesses and things, and it did an amazing rate of it. And then I was like, well, I can't find these statistics anywhere at all. And I'm asking it. And then it's even giving me links that are not, they're not real links. Like the government of Alberta links on the surface of it, but they go to like a 404 page. So like there is like almost like a desire for it to kind of please me in me asking these questions and provide answers, but they were like I definitely couldn't use that information. But it prompted me. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing that even just the words you just used, there, it seems like there's a desire to please me. Humans tend to anthropomorphize technology. And the fact that we're interfacing through this new language, natural language model does more of that to our psychology. At the back end, this is programming. It is a computer, obviously, right? And so, but the interfacing with it is so realistic. I wanted to just flag two things, and as Megan continues, because we're going to come back to this. And so I want to simplify two things for all of you to remember. When you're working with a human intern and when you're working with ChatGPT, there's two rules that are the same. And so just simplify it to this and generalize out, everything you'll be in a much better place. You have to give very, very clear, explicit direction of what you're looking for. I think the conversation in the chat has nailed that. I think everyone really intuitively understands that. And the second thing is at the end, you are responsible for the accuracy and the quality control of that work if you're going to use it or put it out. And so just like a real intern, those two rules are really important, and that follows through to using these tools like ChatGPT as well. So back to you, Megan.
Absolutely. Another just great example of that. There was a trend going around a little while ago where people were asking ChatGPT how many R's are in the word strawberry. And it was saying 2, when obviously we know that there's 3, we can count that. And I actually tested this out just because I was curious. And I went through an entire iterative conversation to direct this robot to actually be able to count out the R's in the word strawberry. So it's just a really interesting thing that you can kind of see and just be cognizant and aware of. Is one of the conversations that people are having is, well, people are just going to use ChatGPT to cheat. Well, it's pretty obvious and easy to see when somebody does not fact check and review the work, because it's not always going to be accurate. So that's one big thing that we need to look at.
Yep.
So
I just want to jump in real quickly. There's a good comment from it scrolled up too quickly about the term prompt engineering. That's sort of the industry term for giving the correct prompting to the AI. Really, it's just telling it what to do properly. But there's lots of best practices and tricks of the trade and certain formatting that can go a long way. So in Matt's example, you can also, if you know that what you're asking for is going to be research or statistics, and you're going to want a quality control and check the sources, you can give explicit direction for it to cite the sources. And there are some tools that do a better job of that as well. So ChatGPT is not the AI tool for every use case. There's lots of different tools, but you can ensure, or you can improve your chance of less error with these tools by giving specific directions. And again, lots of these best practices that we go into quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll give some real-time examples. I went through and I did a little ChatGPT process this morning that we'll walk through and see kind of how that iterative process works and the type of direction and things that I was asking. So this is just kind of, we're talking about ChatGPT today, but the conversation around AI is a lot bigger than that, right? There's image generative AI, there's content generative, which is what ChatGPT is mainly used for. There's video, there's audio, all of these different things. Canva has some really excellent AI tools now as well. It uses AI to background remove images and does it very, very well. Uses AI to build and expand images. So if you have something you can expand into the background, it does a really great job with content generation. You establish your brand voice and it will help you create content based on that as well. So some really excellent tools. There are some conversations that we had previously in the year that you can find on the Business Link and 910 YouTubes. Business Link would be, I think, easier to find. I need to put all of our videos into a playlist right now. But if you're interested in learning more about that, this is also something that we talk quite a bit about in the 910 Training Academy as well. There's lots of tools out there. Gemini is becoming a lot more prevalent in the marketplace. It's the Google one. I have it on my phone. It's really interesting to look at how it works. And Ryan very recently came or discovered a new one where it basically takes what you give it and turns it into a podcast interview, which was really fascinating. Ryan, did you want to talk a little bit about that at all?
Yeah, so it's a new beta product. Beta mean it's early on. They're still making lots of changes. So it's called Notebook LM. LM is in language model. And so this one seems to be more purposed for, if you can imagine, a student. I just recently completed a degree, and this would have been so wonderful. So you can upload documents, PDFs, or lots of different file types, transcripts, videos, etc. Then it scans through all that information. So you've then pre-trained it with all of the information that you want to gather insights from. And then you can just have a natural language conversation about, so you could upload an entire book if you had it in a format that would work, or a white paper that you wanted to kind of go through. And then you can ask questions about it, and then it'll, like ChatGPT, give you lots of answers. But what it does really well is it sources back to the specific section of that. So back to the sourcing. But then they just throw on this extra little tool to say, would you like an audio summary of this document? And what you do is you say, yes, please give me a summary. And the content, the format is always a male and a female voice having a podcast conversation. And you can give it a little bit of guidance like, yes, I'm about to prepare for an exam on this book. Can you have a conversation that relates to all of the main parts of this article that might be in an exam, or for example. So you can give it some guidance. It's a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? Gimmicky, because it's always that format, always the same podcast kind of conversation, but more of a demonstration of the technology is this ability to have it output real insights for you in a format that is really attuned to most people, which is just kind of natural conversation as well. So I'm tracking this because right now this is beta, but just the proof of concept of what it's doing is amazing. And again, like anything, it's a new tool, and how do you use it, which is really, again, a really important point on learning how to use these tools properly with the training. So
I used
anyways,
it yesterday, Ryan. I was saying I was driving back from Edmonton, and I'd put academic papers on entrepreneurship, early stage entrepreneurship, and some recent government statistics that I know I would just never read in detail. Like I'd read the summary, whatever, but I put them all in there, and I listened to a 30-minute podcast on that data, on that information, just in a very, very digestible form. It is really, really scarily good.
I have caught it hallucinating and making up stuff that wasn't in the content again. So buyer beware with all of this stuff. It's in beta. It will hallucinate, but still a great proof of concept.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's kind of go back to the beginning, right? Why does branding matter? Because if we look at kind of the process of how 910 services were laid out there at the beginning, branding was the first one there. And there's a reason for that, because branding is so fundamental in every part of the process along the journey. And branding is kind of over expansive, right? This was last month's topic as well. So if you attended that one, you'll have a little bit more insight. But I'm just curious, if we can drop in the chat, what does brand mean to you, and why do you think it's important when we're using AI? So I'm just kind of curious to see some insights here and what people think as we wait for some responses to come in. Matt, why don't you jump in here and share, why do you think brand is so important to using AI tools?
That's a good question. I think in terms of like voice, I was answering another question in the chat.
Sorry.
So it's fine. But I think in terms of voice, it's very like it's really, really helpful in terms of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Directing the tone that what we are expecting to see. Brooke says it can make or break a first impression. Absolutely, it can, right? This is how we're showing up in the world. It's so valuable to make that impression first a good one. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, there's a famous book called The Brand Gap by Marty Neumeier, and he defines it as brand is what they say it is, which is another way to say your customers define the brand. If you were to interview 100, 1,000 of your customers, and then you were to aggregate their general consensus, that's your brand. And that, although I can get behind that, that's a little bit, it's like, well, what does that mean? It's so abstract. So we deconstruct the brand into various parts. So it's a brand is, let's talk about your internal brand, who you are first. It's your purpose, your mission, your vision, your values. It's all of the things that you can say about the brand, almost as though you were describing the brand as a person. Again, that idea of personifying or anthropomorphizing a brand, it's a really useful exercise. And so it's first getting really clear on who you are, what you're about. And this does include also getting really clear about your product offerings and your services and breaking out your price and all of this. But at some point, you position externally to say, now that I've defined who we are, who is our target audience, right? And so that becomes really important too. We have in our brand strategy session, we use the analogy of a person, and we say the logo is the face, the way you dress is your visual identity, your personality in your heart is your brand essence. But then the positioning part is like, okay, so who, what? So what? You have to connect with prospective customers out in the world, and how you position yourself in the market really matters. Who are your competitors? How are you the same? How are you different? You might have different customer segments. So you might have some clients that are young mothers, while others are students, and others are maybe men with other characteristics. So the idea of segmenting your audience really makes sense as well. So the branding is really half drawing out insights so you can understand who you are and who your target audience is. And then once you get to the right side of this equation, the brand expression is really bringing it to life. And this is what most people see and what they think of. It's the colors, it's the fonts, it's the textures, it's the patterns. It can even extend into your audio brand, and in some retail, it's even olfactory branding, where you walk into a shop and it's always a consistent smell that triggers some sort of triggers like a memory or stickiness to that brand. And so most of the quote unquote fun of branding is once you get into the expression where you're bringing it to life in colors and textures and patterns, and you're creating very specific guidelines so that when you show up in the world, you're showing up consistently, and over time, people start to recognize you. And if you've done a good job, you've branded it in a way that the choice of colors and textures and patterns resonate with your target audience, which you're definitely not going to get right if you can't even identify and break down who your target audience is and what are the most important considerations that they might have as it relates to, doing quote unquote business with your brand. So
Yeah.
feel free to add to that in any way you'd like, Megan.
Yeah, so that's a really great, poignant explanation of why all of that background context matters. If we go back to looking at ChatGPT as an intern, like I was saying, where humans know all of the context, ChatGPT, the robot, doesn't, right? So this is all of that context, right? If you don't know what your brand voice is, if you don't know who your audience groups are, if you don't know your position in the market, you aren't able to direct your intern to say, I want to target this particular group of people. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to just share an example of we're working with an oil field company out of Calgary, and there is an individual, a young woman that we're working with who's in charge of their branded marketing and communication. And the reason we've been pulled in to work with them is to do a brand strategy, because she's been saying, I'm in charge of branding and marketing and communicating on behalf of this organization, but I don't have a compass. I don't know which way I'm pointing. I don't know why we exist, what we're about. I don't know who our target clients are. I don't know how they're segmented. I don't know what matters to them. I don't know how we're different and better than our competitors. And so you can think of the brand strategy as a little bit of an on paper map of who we are, what we're about, why we exist, our products, our services, our tone of voice, the keywords we use, blah, 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 all of this stuff. And then how that matters to that audience. And so the human who's going to be in charge of marketing and communication really needs access to this information to be pointed in the right direction. The spoiler alert again now is we're working with the same person. Now they're one person, they can't do it all. So if only they could lean into a tool like ChatGPT to assist them. And if only we could have the GPT tool have the same base information that she's working from, then that ChatGPT would be less likely to hallucinate and be pointed in the wrong direction, because this brand strategy is a corpus of knowledge that is what you use to train that GPT. In the same way, if you brought on a human intern, you'd say, don't point in any random direction. I need you to get familiar with this brand strategy, and then you will know who we are and who our clients are, and then we can work together. So I just wanted to kind of bring in that point, and I know you're going to expand on that quite a bit, Megan.
Yeah, absolutely. That just it ties it all together. So yeah, really what we're looking at here is taking your brand strategy, building out a really fundamental understanding of who you are. And this is work that you have to do yourself, right? As maybe the entrepreneur, the leadership team, the people who really know the organization the best, they're the ones that have to answer those questions, right? And then we take that and we put it into our ChatGPT, our custom GPT AI, so that we can actually have good digital interns without having this disconnect between, well, I can give you information, but I don't have the background context and knowledge. So this is the big part that we're looking at making sure that we do a good job at. So this is where custom GPTs come into play. Custom GPTs allow you to set up a GPT chat that is custom designed with your specific needs. There's a ton out there that have been pre-programmed with very specific instructions, and you can build these yourself as well. So this particular feature, you can use these with the free account, but in order to build them, you do need the professional account, the business account, I think it is. So that is just something to be conscientious of, but I can tell you right now, this is something that as a marketer and as an instructor, I use virtually every day. So when we are looking at ChatGPT, we can see there's a few that we've created as well, and we'll look at Cupcakes Creative, which is one that we built. But we can do a search and find ones for SEO marketing. We can find ones for web content. We can find ones for blog. We can find ones for social media. We can find ones for fiction. We can find ones for script writing. I could go on. The list is beyond exhaustive. So there's so many resources out there. You just have to know kind of where to look.
Yeah, and
So,
I wanted to, can I jump in and provide a little bit of sort of understanding on this? If you jump into just a standard GPT chat, you can use all of the functions of ChatGPT, and it's like ready to reference all of the knowledge in the world. And you're like, that's a pain in the butt. And you have to spend a lot of time giving it specific guidance so it's ready to work in the context that you want to work. That's the magic of a custom GPT. It's been pre-trained already to work with you in the context of that narrow training. I make them all the time because we're on the paid account and it's fun to do and we're learning. I have made one where I've pre-trained it to be my assistant to learning about ancient Rome and ancient Greek, and I've given it some guidance. So now when I'm using that one, it's giving me all of the information that I want just about that specific narrow topic. Really cool. So, I know Megan uses this quite often in her day-to-day, but we also teach our clients how to create these for their own business when they go through our training academy and do the brand strategy. So back to you on the demo here, Megan.
yeah, thank you. So really what we're doing here is we can build this through a custom or through a natural language model as well. It's not just the building of these is not reserved for people who have that technical knowledge and experience. It's completely accessible for, you know, the everyday person who I definitely don't have a background in computer science. My degree is in English literature and history, right? But my ability to use my skills as somebody who speaks English, I can prompt my AI, create an AI that will ask me the proper questions that I need to build this correctly. So this is where we can upload knowledge, right? So we go through this brand strategy process, we write down all that information, and then we can upload that into our custom GPT, and it will take all of that information and use it as kind of a Bible of knowledge to inform the language that it uses, to inform the questions that it asks, to inform the content that it puts out. It's so valuable to build that. And you can give it all of the instructions that you want, right? If you are going to be primarily using this to publish recipe blog posts, that is what we're going to instruct it to do, right? We're going to say this is a digital marketing assistant that is primarily being used to create recipe blog posts. It needs to be effective in creating SEO content that is broken up with visuals and step-by-step and follow the proper best practices for website content, right? That is the kind of stuff that we do. Yeah.
And I just want to jump in. This is a good example. I go online and look for recipes all the time. And if you're someone that does that, you'll recognize that depending on the website, they always format the recipes differently. So you might have a preferred format and you can train it on when you give me this, don't make me tell you every time, you know that I'm going to want the format to be da, 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 in this way. And you might say, in addition to the directions and the step-by-step, I also want you to pair it with a tantalizing description as though it was on a menu. And so again, it's really getting clear on what you're looking for, and then it'll have a much better chance of getting it right. So this is that term pre-training in the same way that you would have to do to a human intern. You'd have to give this clear guidance to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So a couple really great questions in the chat there. One is, what kind of language is it written in and who adds knowledge to the GPT? So this comes from a few different places, right? The program itself pulls from all public knowledge that's available, right? So anything that's available on the internet, it will be able to pull from. Now, when it comes to the custom GPT starters, you're the one that adds in that information, right? So, you know, my document that has all of everything laid out, my purpose, my mission, my vision, my values, that's not public internet knowledge, right? So I have to upload that and say, this is the place that you reference for all of that brand information. Another one, it says, when you say brand strategy, is it based on the previous slide? Yes. So that is where we talk about, let's go back here. This section here, right? So this is what we call brand strategy, where it involves all of the really fundamental pieces, understanding who you are, and then building in a lot of that information to be able to create effective marketing, drive your business, your organization forward in an effective way. So this is what we're talking about when we say brand strategy. Okay, let's do a quick little dive into ChatGPT Live. So I will go through ChatGPT prompting session that I did this morning. So Cupcake is a business that we kind of created as a way to engage these tools. So Cupcake is a fake business. It doesn't actually exist. But this is just an example of how kind of we pre-trained Cupcake Creative with some information about the business, right? So we gave it the primary audience groups. We gave it the information about kind of our services and our breakdown of what Cupcakes does. You know, we're a gourmet cupcake bakery and things like that. So
Megan, sorry to interrupt you. Can you just maybe control plus, just zoom in a tad for the audience?
There we go. Okay, so my first prompt here, you'll see, is quite long, right? And the idea here is that I'm trying to give it as much information as possible right off the bat, Okay. So it might feel tiring to write all of that out every single time, which is why we have these custom GPTs, right? So I could have made this quite a bit longer because there's a lot more information in that brand strategy that we saw. So what I'm doing is really just reaffirming the things that I want to focus on. So I need help creating a year-long marketing strategy broken up into quarters, so 3-month blocks for Cuppy Cakes. These quarterly strategies should follow the seasons, keeping in mind that Cuppy Cake focuses on using local ingredients and offering flavors and options that are seasonally available. So this is part of our brand strategy where these are our product differentiators and our offerings that's included in the brand strategy, but I'm highlighting it here because it's extra important that we focus on that. The strategy should include campaign ideas for each quarter, a content scheduling strategy that includes email, social media, blog, and video. The broader marketing goals are brand awareness and increased revenue. So I'm letting ChatGPT know right off the bat, these are my goals for these campaigns. This is what I want to focus on, the messaging. Our service offerings are custom cupcake orders, catering, and cafe bakefront, right? So these are the 3 things that I really want to bring in here. The brand persona that we are trying to convey is happy, energetic, caring, enthusiastic, knowledgeable, and kind. So this is kind of like the personality voice that I want ChatGPT to bring out, and I'm just reinforcing that. And then this is the key part. Please ask for any additional information you may need in order to complete a year-long strategy according to digital marketing best practices. So I'm not saying create this year-long strategy for me right now. I'm saying, what else do you need that I can provide? Because I'm sure that I missed information because there's a lot of stuff going up in my brain. Right?
Such an important thing that Megan is showing right now. You may not have the full expertise to have given the best prompt, but this is a hidden trick, like the most powerful hidden trick. You can just ask it, is there more information you need to be successful at this task? Please ask away so we can clarify together. And so I love when you do this, Megan.
Yeah. So this is something that I will really encourage all of you to do anytime you are working in ChatGPT. If you're not 100% comfortable that you've given all of the proper information, ask it. Ask it to ask you questions, right? So then it has 7 questions here that it asks me that they want to know in order to build this robust quarterly strategy, right? So I go through and I answer all of those questions. So the first question is, are all of those audience groups, and you'll notice I didn't actually write down who the audience groups were in my first message here, but it asks me, who am I targeting? Because I have that in my strategy that's uploaded to the custom GPT, right? So this is a super great example of where you might have missed it in the first chat there, but because of the knowledge that it has from being pre-trained, it can ask me the question, who are you wanting to target with this strategy? Okay. Second one, where are your revenue streams coming from? Where do you want to focus on? Your social media platforms? What kind of resources do you have access to? Marketing tools, budgets. So this is a really great question because that's another one that I didn't add in there, right? Community partnerships. Do you have any partnerships or places that you show up other than your storefront, right? So then I go through and I answer all of these questions, okay? Primarily targeting a mix of those audience groups. The main point are that all of these people lack time and energy to make cakes for their special events, right? So that's the pain point that we're focusing on. Second question, we're prioritizing the custom cake orders in the storefront, and each season should have a way to prioritize these in a unique way. So I'm not just answering the question, it's given me another idea like, okay, yeah, no, I need to make sure that I share about how each season needs to be unique. We're not just sharing the same information over and over again. We're strongest on Instagram and TikTok, and it had asked me about Pinterest, and I don't want to be on Pinterest at all right now. That's just not going to be in my scope. So these are the 2 platforms that I'm focusing on. Photography and videography. So those resources that it asked me about. And I shared about the promotions and seasonal offers that we can email market to with our email list of 500 people. So that gives it a really good idea of who all I can access with that. And then the budget for sponsored ads. And then our local partnership with the Chamber of Commerce to provide birthday cakes to businesses on their anniversary. So then I say, make me the strategy. And it goes through and it says, here are your marketing focuses. Here are some campaign ideas, right? For our January through March quarter. Then we have a content plan for email, social media, blogs, and videos, and an advertising plan, right? So that's super great detail there. Yes, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight here, like even just going through this right now, this presumes, again, what we're recommending very, very much through our training academy is you can expect to use these tools very successfully if you have the foundational knowledge. It's referencing campaigns and blogs and content strategy and advertising budgets. And so you need to be familiar with this world, and you need to know what a campaign means, and you need to understand the importance of a blog so that you can use your own mind to determine, yes, a blog strategy would be really great, and I have a sense of what I'm looking for. Therefore, I can ask this tool to help me in that task. But if you're starting from scratch and you really are, very basic in your understanding of a marketing framework or developing a marketing plan, you're really going to spin your wheels on a tool like this. It'll produce something for you, but will you be able to work with it? Will you be able to execute it? Is it full of holes and missed strategies because of the prompting you gave it? So I really want to demonstrate this is a tool that Megan uses very effectively because she has a whole base set of knowledge, which again, you can gain this knowledge and it's very cost effective to do so. But that foundational bit is really key. I just want to underscore here again.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because exactly like we've been talking about with ChatGPT AI in general, there's that QC element. We have to make sure everything that comes out of this tool is a good product that we want to share with the world. And you aren't going to be able to tell if it's a good enough product if you don't know what a good product looks like, right? So this is where that background experience that you as the human really need to do yourself. This is not going to be able to make the decisions for you, right? It will give you a lot of great things, but it's not going to be able to make the decision for you. So that was a really great aside there, Ryan. Okay, so it gives me the same information for Q2 through 4 as well. And then just gives me some recommendations for kind of some that year-round consistency. Obviously, we have very focused seasons, so we want to make sure that we're dialing into those, but we want to make sure that overall our marketing strategy reflects who Cubby Cakes is, right? So then I say, thank you. Based on the outline you gave for Q1, please provide a content calendar for January, February, and March that includes both Instagram, TikTok with topic ideas for each post, as well as photo/video recommendations. So I'm asking it for a pretty broad range of things that I can then build on myself as the person who's going to be taking the photos and putting out these posts and promotions, right? And this is actually something new that this particular table has never been provided for me before. And all of the times that I've asked for content calendars, never given me an actual calendar. So this is a new feature, which is super cool and very exciting that I discovered today. So it gives me January. It gives me the platform that I'm posting on. It gives me the post type. So this is a static post. This is a behind the scenes video that I'm going to be sharing. This is an Instagram reel. This is a TikTok tutorial, right? Gives me the topic, and it gives me what I should be gathering and creating for this post. So it gives me a really great outline. Now, if I wanted to, I can then take this and say, okay, on the January 3rd Instagram post that you recommended, please write Instagram quality content for the description of that post. And it will give me Instagram quality content based on this information, because it's consistently going back to the previous parts of this message, of this thread, to learn and continue giving you the best information possible, right? So then
good question in here, not to interrupt you, but you just mentioned that it gave a new format here, a table. It did that automatically. So this is ChatGPT experimenting with different formats, but you could prompt it to deliver it to you in a format or in a table. And GPT can provide content in different formats. It can also even provide code. if you're a more advanced user and you're going to implement that from a programming perspective. So there's a good question, Wilma, and this is kind of learning these tools as they're in development, or quote unquote, it's like a live beta on the background. They're changing and testing and releasing new products and features all the time. So you're kind of learning as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it created a table for me, and it always struggled with like I remember kind of 6 months ago, but 6 months ago it was struggling to just provide information in tables and things. And then I said, oh, could you create an Excel? And it did that for me. And then I was like, oh, could you add this extra column to the Excel spreadsheet? And it did that for me. Like it definitely felt like it was doing something it could not have done 6 months ago for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's consistently growing and building. Audrey also asked a really great question about how good the content actually is. And really, so your question is how much engagement you get on Instagram using a tool like ChatGPT based versus just written content. And it really has more to do, it has less to do with whether or not you use ChatGPT and more to do with whether or not this reflects you and your voice, right? So ChatGPT could give you something really great, but you still want to make sure that it reflects who your core voice is. Now, text has less to do with the Instagram algorithm. That's a completely different conversation, right? There's a number of elements that go into boosting engagement, getting more content, interaction, those kinds of things, views on your Instagram reels than the text content does. So that is something completely aside from using ChatGPT, but it does give really great content. And when you say, I want a social media post, it'll give you emojis, it'll give you hashtags that you can use, versus if you were to say, write a blog post, for example. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, and this goes back to kind of the pre-training. And so if you don't give it enough guidance or examples, it'll create something, but then you may find that you're like, is this reflecting my personality or my voice, or would I or would my company speak like this? Is this in line with kind of, what you would expect of how a blog would be written or a post? So in the pre-training, what you could do, I'll use the example of a blog. You could be asking this tool to help you write promotional blogs for seasonal offers or any number of things. To the extent that you have written blogs in the past, or you can demonstrate, hey, when I ask you for a blog, I want them formatted this way, in this tone of voice, and here's 4 examples of blogs that really match what I'm looking for. Please do your best to emulate that. It's going to do a significant better job at getting close to your target because you've been so specific and you've provided examples. You will still have to do that quality control, and you might find that, hey, you're using a little bit too much industry jargon here. I want this language to be more approachable. So you can fine tune it as well. But yeah, if you're copying and pasting and putting out content from your GPT, unless you're a superpower user that has been a magician at giving it really good prompts, that's probably not a good strategy. So again, Megan doesn't blindly take this stuff and put it out there without a significant amount of quality control, but it might have saved her 6 hours, right? And so that's where you still need the trained human leveraging these tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm coming up to an example of kind of how to use that iterative practice in order to get the best information possible. So my
Megan,
prompt here,
sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you. Just a time check. We're at 11:48.
yeah. So my prompt here is provide written email content based on the recommendations that it gave me, and subject line, date and time it should be sent, and design recommendations for the email. Now what it gives me is the subject line, date and time content, but it's in a code format, right? I don't necessarily want a code format based on what I'm using, right? So, okay, then I go down to scroll through the recommendations that it gave me, and I say, thank you, please rewrite the content section, because everything else was fine, so that they are in regular text, not code. But then what it did was it just took out all of the extra stuff, right? No buttons, no emojis, no nothing. Well, that's not necessarily what I wanted, right? So then I say again, please include the emojis and button recommendations you had in the previous emails as well. And so it redid it, including the subject line, date and time with all of the emojis, the button recommendations and the designs, but in plain text rather than code, right? So I wasn't clear enough in those couple prompts exactly what I was looking for. So I had to go back and forth a little bit in order to get what I wanted. And I'm still going to have to go through here and make a couple little changes to make sure that it reflects my voice. I want to add a little bit more information and things like that. But I can use this, right? I'm not going to use this really, because this is not very good. This is much better because it has a little bit more substance to it. That is just kind of an overview of how to use ChatGPT effectively in marketing. There's so many other uses for AI. I'll jump back into the presentation here as well, but some things that you can do is ask it to help you with overviews. So if you have a complex marketing report with some statistics and data that you're not quite sure how to read, hey, ChatGPT, here's a PDF of this marketing report that I got. I'm not too sure what how to read this. Could you please help me understand? And it will give you a little bit of a better description. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, just before we transfer to the offer, because I know the time check here, but there's a good question from Vivian. She was asking about, can she get a transcript of this to do her own summary? We don't share this transcripts, but the video will be posted to YouTube. And what we could do, Matt, I'm thinking is when Business Link sends out the thank you email with the link to the posted video, what we can do is we can provide a short summary to demonstrate how this works. We'll get one of our GPTs to review the video and to create a transcript, to give it a short summary with all the main points. And then what we'll do is we'll use that notebook LM tool that I've been talking about, and we'll get AI to generate, it'll probably be a 15 to 20 minute podcast summary reviewing, and it'll be something like this. Wow, we just attended a podcast with 910, and Ryan and Megan really helped us to understand ChatGPT, and it'll give a podcast conversational style summary. And so you'll be able to see how you could give to someone, they didn't get a chance to attend this, but they wanted to get a really good summary of what was talked about. And they may want to read the quick summary, but they might be the person that would be better off if they heard a human conversation about it. So that's a fun little experiment for us to do. And so we'll do that on the back end. We've never done that for one of our webinars, but given the topic, I think Vivian, everyone give kudos to Vivian. That was her suggestion that came from that. So anyways, back to you, Megan, and we can talk about the offer for today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like a little bit of full transparency here. All of these sessions have been accompanied with a blog that's been posted on Business Link. The way that I've written those is taken the link of the YouTube video, entered it into a transcript generator. So even if you just Google transcript generator from YouTube, there's a bunch of options that will come up. I've copied that transcript and put it into ChatGPT and said, hey, can you please write a blog summary of this webinar? Of course, I've edited them, of course, to QC and make sure everything is good. But this is how to build these tools into your workflow. So anyway, some key takeaways from today. Treat your AI like an intern, give it the direction that it needs. Your brand strategy is so key and important into being able to train your AI tools effectively. Always, always, always check your work and consistently upgrade your skills. You have to know the foundations in order to use AI effectively. You need to know what SEO content, good SEO content looks like in order to judge whether or not ChatGPT is giving you good SEO content, right? So this is really just kind of the 4 main takeaways for today, and jumping into the learning part of it and building up your skills. We build our training around this model where 10% is really where we get that formal learning, that book, read a book, watch the video, do your own stuff kind of thing. That's where we generally absorb about 10% of the curriculum from. And this is based on research from the Center for Creative Leadership that Ryan discovered while he was doing his master's in business. But then 20% of our learning and our knowledge and our absorbing that information comes from a social learning environment. So a lot of what we've been doing today is asking questions, commenting, responding to each other in the chat there, building off of each other's experiences. That's a social learning environment. When you're in class, you're learning from each other. And that's a huge part of what we try and emulate with our training program, is this social environment where we get to have those conversations. And then 70% is actually from the practice, right? I learn by doing. I don't know how many times I've heard that. And so a huge part of, again, a huge part of what we do is saying, okay, well, we learned this in our class. Okay, we talked about it in class. Now go out and do it, right? Here's the worksheet, fill it out. Show us an example of a video that you took, and diving into all of those things to practice those. Now, what we want to share with you as well is trying to make this learning as accessible as possible for everyone, right? So with Business Link, we're able to provide a little bit of a discount for everyone here today. So you can have access to all of these certified curriculum at a bit of a discount as well. So this is the certified digital marketing professional that Ryan was referring to at the very beginning. This is the program that I am certified through. This is a globally recognized certification as well, and it's very accessible for everyone. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. So the certified professional is kind of our flagship offering. It's a bundling of different curriculum: email marketing, SEO, web, social, AI, Canva, all of this sort of stuff. So you become quite well-rounded. And probably the most important consideration is the time. How much time will it take? And it's about 5 to 6 hours per week minimum is what we would suggest. That's at your own pace, from your computer, from an internet connection. You can advance kind of at your own pace virtually. But we do offer once a week coaching call where you can join on. You get that peer-to-peer learning. There's other students on. This is the community here that Megan has on screen. And then you get the benefit of working with an instructor. And so Megan is our lead instructor. And what's going to happen is you're going to learn from the curriculum something about SEO and how to structure your blog. And then we're going to encourage you to jump in the trenches and do it. That's the experiential learning. Then you're going to run into roadblocks or frictions or questions. Then you're going to come back to the group and you're going to ask and we're going to talk about that. And you don't know this, but your questions are going to benefit the other learners because they're having the same challenges and vice versa. So it really is kind of a practical learning where it's not just the curriculum. You can opt to just get the textbooks and get the certified, global credential, but the deep learning and the real value or the impact we have is when you're in the community with us as well. So back to you, Megan.
And I just wanted to share that we are also offering that first 2 months in this community for you as a free offer. So definitely take advantage of that and come join us for some great classes, conversations with some other students and learn from each other. So if you go to this address, scan this QR code, fill out the form, and we'll get you involved in the community as well. So this is a really great way to kick off a lot more of that fundamental learning that we were talking about and get you started on your path to improving your digital marketing skills. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you all so much for joining. Yes, Ryan, go ahead.
Yes, I'm just struggling to pull it up right now. Can we just post the link into the chat as well, Megan, if you have that handy?
Absolutely, sure can.
Perfect.
There you go. All right, so that's in the chat now. Feel free to click on that hyperlink and fill out the form on that page. So a really great resource for everyone there as well.
We do actually have 2 minutes. If there are any kind of final questions from people, there's some kind of great timing. But thank you so much. I mean, it's easy to be such a geek for all this because it's so interesting, isn't it? And it's so quick evolving and so much to learn, so powerful. But I really like the kind of approach today of, okay, it's powerful, but we've got to remain kind of in control and direct it and utilize it in the best possible.
Well, and Matt, you're aware this is our final. We did a year-long series with Business Link, and this one is the last session. And we're in dialogue to kind of create some new content for the Business Link audience and stakeholders. But given that this was the last session, we're really trying to make the point that this is maybe the shiny tool that's catching everyone's attention, but to be effective in using it for your business, there is some baseline foundational structure that you need in place, as well as some basic training and professional skills development to be able to use it. But I can tell you this is accessible to most, if not all, small, medium businesses if they just go through those really well-established steps. So we're really eager to support small, medium businesses. Matt, you and your team, wonderful to work with. We love our partnership with Business Link. So with that, if Megan doesn't have anything else, Matt can probably round us out.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, definitely thanks to Megan, thanks to Ryan and 910. It's been a great year of so much content, and I know how much you put into each one of these. It's not just a rinse and repeat and let's move on. I know that each and every presentation, so much time goes into putting that together, and that it's really been wonderful. So yeah, definitely watch out the attendees. Watch out for new content coming in the new year. We're kind of working with 910 on that now. But yeah, my final thing is to say thank you everyone for attending. Thank you 910, and yeah, let's use those tools and build that strong foundation. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and I hope to see a lot of you soon in class.
Yeah.
Yeah, big thanks to Megan for being the expert here.
Thanks, folks. Bye bye.